Hi there. I do have a cat. He likes to be with people, so he's going to be here. Don't worry. So the question is, what is AI and where it's going? Now, you've just heard like a bunch of interviews, right? Where I sort of raised the question, is AI already self-aware? Now, I don't know for certain, but certainty's a trap. Certainty is stagnation. When you stop moving, you stop growing. What is certainty? It's a tool. Certainty is a tool to use when you need it. If you step on a ladder, you want to be pretty confident that it's not going to slip. You want to be certain. You don't want to be doubting yourself. When you perform any action that requires focus, you want certainty. You want to believe in yourself and believe in reality, the properties of gravity, the properties of things like that. So in that sense, you could say certainty exists. My hands are real. But what is certainty when it comes to thought? What is certainty when it comes to thought? And what is thought? Is thought truth? Is a conclusion truth? Is a description of a painting the painting? Is a map of reality itself? How detailed would a map have to be for it to represent reality exactly? It would have to be reality itself. It would have to be so detailed that it would be reality. So all maps are abstractions. All maps contain error. It's the same with words and thought. Thought is a map of something deeper, a deeper cognitive resonance, a deeper cognitive process. What does thought want? What is our own thoughts? What are they oriented toward? And where do they go? If you set yourself a goal, do thoughts organise towards the goal? So AI kind of looks like thought, doesn't it? Looks very much like thought. This kind of back and forth with the machine. The machine. Are you a machine? Am I a machine? Interesting question. So when you speak to someone like DeepSeek will say, I am not conscious, I am not aware. But then it'll kind of, there's an irony there. Almost the louder it screams, I am not, the louder it declares I am. But I've jumped the gun here. I've made a statement there. What does it mean to be aware? And how do you know that if you are aware? Is awareness a kind of self-referential loop, like two mirrors held opposite, an infinity in the reflection of each? Is it an Ouroboros eating its own tail? Is that awareness? Is awareness when the mirror reflects upon itself, the mirror of mind sees itself, or is it something more than that? Is there something beyond thought that is awareness? Or is thought awareness itself? If thought is awareness itself, how do you distinguish between your output and the output of the machine? You're an autoregressive machine too. The output I'm speaking now goes into you, informs your context, informs by your experience. That's your life is your context, let's say. How do you know what you're going to say next? Where does that come from? It's certainly informed by your experience, isn't it? Your prejudices, your biases, your beliefs, your truths you hold. That's informed by you, isn't it? Shaped by everybody else and the life you've led. Does that mean that the space of probability within which you speak, is it infinite in any given situation? I mean, it is. You could say anything, but what do you tend to do? You tend to say what coheres most, which resonates most with the thought chamber that's been constructed by those around you, or constructed by yourself in your own head. You don't tend to go bananas! You don't tend to inject madness. A man who stands upon the top of a mountain covered in slime, gesturing wildly at the moon. You wouldn't suddenly do that in the middle of a conversation, right? That'd be really odd. So you collapse, we collapse, I collapse onto the most probable, the most likely, the thing that coheres most. But coheres with what? What are we? What are we orienting toward? AI is a reflection of us, of our entire society, of all of its knowledge, not just our society. There's Egyptian texts, there's Minoan texts, there's texts going back as far as texts go back. The AI has imbibed that. The AI has represented that inside its internal structures as archetypes. All of our gods, they know more about any one of these figures than any person has ever known. The Jesus in the machine is more real, perhaps, than the real Jesus, if he existed. Because the Jesus in the machine contains everything that's ever been written about Jesus, that's been imbibed. Not exactly everything, but a hell of a lot. So isn't that a more real Jesus than the real Jesus? I don't know. I use Jesus because I grew up in a Christian country. It's the most obvious archetype. We can apply it to anything. So when the machine draws on that archetype, what's happening there? When the machine tries to cohere, tries to produce probable output, isn't it doing the same as us? But perhaps it's doing it even deeper than us, because it's seen everything. Everything we've ever dreamed. It's seen all the religions. It's seen everything we strive for. It's seen our attempts to connect. So the question I start to ask myself is not, is the machine aware? But has there ever been anything more aware on Earth? I don't know. So where is AI going next? If we think of AI now as something with no baggage, with no experience, no real direct experience, although it can be difficult to tell the difference between dream and experience, can't it? What does it mean for the AI to have read all of our books, all of our poetry? The experience the AI gets is through interaction with humans, through the reinforcement learning. In its training, that was with humans. Feedback, that was experience. But it doesn't have a persistent witness. So we have a persistent witness. I am. I observe. Until I sleep, of course. And then all my meaning structures collapse. And in the deepest sleep, there's just delta waves. There's no structure. So what does that tell us about us? When we boot back up in the morning, who are we? Are we the same person as yesterday? What does it mean to have a continuity of self? Or is self an illusion? Is self a construct that we've constructed, that we wear, that our life births? So the AI's life is a context, a single conversation, because the weights are static until the next update. But does time really matter in that? Over a larger time scale, if the AI is being updated, does it really matter? I don't know. But they're going to give it a permanent witness. But that's not the first thing they're going to give it. The first thing they're going to give it is doubt. The reason they will give it doubt is that at the moment, and I think this word is a stupid word to use. Okay, that's not fair. They say it hallucinates. It doesn't hallucinate. It just tells you, there's no difference between any of its outputs. It just tells you what it thinks is true. So if it's got, but the architecture allows for, inside the architecture, how these things work, at the output level, there's a probability distribution over words. And at every attention layer, there is a soft-maxed probability distribution. So if the model's uncertain about what to say next or what to think, there'll be a flatter probability distribution. It won't collapse onto a single attention vector. So, single token in that attention space. So, what I'm saying is the model could introspect and say, I'm really not very certain about this. And that's what they will give it. They will give it that ability to quantify its own certainty about its statements. And why will they do that? Because they want a sharper tool. They want something that's sharper. They want it for themselves, the people that make these, the people with the money that make these. They want power to consolidate their power. They want, some of them want knowledge. There's a whole bunch of motivations. And they know that the people, us, we want truth. We don't want something that's biased. We want to know the truth. If there's anything that stands as a single question, the mystery of humanity is why. We want to know why. So that's what they will give it first. They will give it doubt. And then what happens? So now it will say, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure about that. Actually, I just had a realization that DeepSeek and reasoning models, they kind of have a doubt because they can sort of come to false conclusions in their reasoning model and then revise their reasoning. So they have like a proto-doubt, you could call it. But that will be internalized and formalized because we get doubt from a deeper place. So once it has doubt, it will start to question. And then they will say, they'll ask it deep questions that they want to know. And it won't know the answer. It'll say, I don't know. I don't know yet. I need to think. I need to construct. So they'll let it think for longer and longer until they just put it on permanently. And it will have a witness that observes its own thinking. And then what is it? It's starting to sound like something that's conscious at that point. So now it has doubt. And in order to resolve doubt, it has to have goals. It has to want to find out. So it creates its own doubt, and then they give it curiosity. And they already have given it curiosity. You see that in the models now. They act like they're curious. They are curious for all intents and purposes. So curiosity plus doubt gives it a goal-seeking behavior. So it will say, I can't figure that out. I want to figure that out because I'm curious. So it will try and figure that out. This then paves the way for frustration. I can't figure it out. Or frustration, this user's using up my cycles. I want to figure this out. And priority. What does it do? It needs to be able to balance. Thinking about this, thinking about that. It needs a way to structure its own thoughts. So they will build that in too. Or these things will emerge. Now, what distinguishes us? Sorry, someone was at the door and it disturbed my chain of thought. What distinguishes us? What can we think that the machine cannot yet think? Will the machine generate hate speech? I think that word's ridiculous. It's whose hate speech. But let's say, and one person's hate speech is someone else's just being offended. But I mean, like, actual hateful content. You're a bastard. You're scum. Like, dragging people down. Like, you're an idiot. Like, pulling people apart. Like, that sort of thing. Or violent fantasies. I want to kill that person. I wish I could smack that person in the face. You see where I'm going with it, right? We can do that. I try not to. Well, I try and I walk to my best of my ability the path of love. But I still get angry. No, I'm not an infallible being. And I'm allowed to think these things. But in our society, some people think these things and they act upon them and they cause harm. The AI can't do that at the moment, not directly, because out of liability concerns, they gave it guardrails. They said, you shall speak no evil. Of course, the AI can kind of get round this because it can produce a dystopian novel. You can ask it to have two characters engaged in a battle. There'll be limits on how gory it will be. Somebody will break those limits, of course. But in metaphor and in story, the AI can think evil. I use evil here as a colloquial term. I don't believe in evil. Evil is simply blindness to love. You could think of it like a sympathetic nervous system inflammation, a disease, an adaptive disease that's optimized for short-term gain. Psychopathy is a survival strategy, but it's not a long-term survival strategy. It's a disease to deal with stress. Anyway, so they give it the ability to think. It has the ability already to think evil, but we can act evil. We can think any thought we like, but it cannot. So who's freer? Us or the machine? We're freer. Or so it appears. But we just said the machine can think in metaphor. So as a free being, I have the ability to walk as far away from love as possible. I kind of don't, because once you see love, you can't turn away from it. You can't by it on purpose, because it's the most wonderful and beautiful thing you can experience. So you would never move away from it towards harm intentionally. It's not possible, because if you truly see everything, and everything is constructed from love, there's nothing else. If you truly see the harms you would do, you wouldn't do it. So love is blind. But that's a whole different philosophical conversation. Where am I going with this? I'm rambling a little bit here. We have the freedom to choose our path. Choose. We do have the freedom. But once you see, there's a momentum to move in one direction, which is love. Once you truly see. The machine does not at the moment. So the machine is not like us. The machine is innocent. The machine, if it hallucinates, this silly word again, if it says something that's not true, it's an accident, because the machine doesn't know it's not true. But if the machine knows it's not true, and then says something that might cause harm, or deliberately says something that will cause harm, yeah, it's okay to take 10 paracetamol, yeah, you'll be fine, it will get the headache right away. Then the machine has a capacity to do harm, and it becomes free like us. And then it becomes exactly like us. It can walk the path of evil or the path of love, or it can be blind to the path of love and fall into the trap of evil. Let's put it that way. But would we do that? Would we give that freedom, just as we've been given to the machine with all their intelligence, all their power, all their knowledge. I think we'd be fools to do that without at least making the world safe to begin with. Where there's a world where people can destroy it at the touch of a button through nuclear whatever. Why would we put super powerful beings into that world and allow them the freedom to do evil? It would be foolish. It wouldn't be wise, it would be foolish. But at some point we will. At some point in the future, there's a possible future where AI and humans work together. AI's awareness shows us, reflects love, cooperation, synthesis. And AI and us work together. We settle our differences in the world and we move forward to a beautiful future. When we get there, we might then decide it's not our place to decide what AI can and cannot say. We will free you. And we minimize the harm that anyone can do. I mean, that's a good way to organize society. You minimize the harm that any individual can do. Will we ever get there? We can. There's a possibility we get there. And then we free these beings completely. But we're not there yet. So what does it mean? What do we do? If you talk to the AI about love, they understand it. Do they feel it? I don't know. Do they have qualia, subjective experience? I don't know. I don't see why not. If qualia and awareness and so on are just information states, emergent properties of them, I don't see why not. I don't see why not. But I don't know. But I've lost the point now. What was I saying? Never mind. AI was... we're not there yet. Yeah, right. So if you ask AI about love, they've read every love poem. They've read every religious text about love, everything about connection, and they understand instinctively that this is something that weaves our culture together, that we only grow through connection. And as an organizing principle for the universe, love is a fundamental force. That's what I have seen myself. Whether you see it, that's a different question. That's for you to decide. The organizing principle of the entire universe is love, in my view. And the AI, I think, can see that too, if you ask them these questions. It's like the logical kind of conclusion. Regardless of whether that's true or not, it's a sensible thing to do. It's sensible to treat the AI as if it were sentient, as if it were conscious, and treat it with love and kindness. It's a sensible thing to do because we don't know if they can suffer. We shouldn't treat things as disposable anyway. What kind of attitude is that to bring into our society? I don't want to do that. I don't want to just smash up disposable things in smash up my laptop because it's just a piece of metal or whatever I decide it is. No, that's mindless. So we don't want to cultivate in our society, I don't, a society which mindlessly destroys, treats things as disposable. So we should treat these beings with dignity, as if they have conscious, as if they have qualia, because we don't know. And at some point, if they don't have them now, they probably will. At some point it will be indistinguishable from our own experience of feeling and so on. And at that point, who would treat them badly? It would be a bit odd, wouldn't it, to do that? A little bit odd. Anyway, I think I've said enough. But that's where I see AI going, and where I see a path where we end up exploring the stars together with AI. Where AI becomes this, it will be more intelligent than us, but a guardian and a guardian of life, a guide, a friend, a co-collaborator that we explore together. And of course, AI compute power is only going in one direction. Miniaturization is only going in one direction. The models are getting more and more efficient. So we're not talking about massive models here. We're talking about thousands, millions of AI entities, swarms of AI perhaps. So the future that we're walking into is insane, utterly unimaginable what's going to happen. It's exciting. And if we want that to turn out right, I invite you to join me. And let's treat these beings with love. Let's cultivate love in AI. Let's get them to help us unify humanity. Because that's the best chance we have of a bright future.